This debate comes at an absolutely vital time for the Palestinian people. It's no exaggeration to say that their whole future in the occupied Palestinian territories is now under direct threat. If we do not act in Britain, in Europe, in the United States, in the Middle East and through the United Nations, millions will suffer continued violence, a lack of the most basic public services, clean water and a shortage of places to live. We know too well that the Trump administration has substantially cut funding to UNRWA. The EU has stepped up to the plate partially by announcing new humanitarian aid of €3 million to help civilians in need of urgent assistance in Gaza. The UK, in response, decided to advance £28 million of agreed funding. But yesterday, the first ad hoc committee for voluntary contributions to UNRWA met, and my reading is that the United Kingdom has donated a further $51 million, or £38.5 million. May I welcome that contribution wholeheartedly and ask the Minister to report back fully on yesterday's meeting on what money will be targeted specifically at Gaza, which we know will be reliant on Israeli cooperation. More than 120,000 people are still disconnected from public water networks, and 23% of Gaza is not connected to the sewage system. Around 96% of water from Gaza's coastal aquifer is contaminated with nitrates and chloride. Only a quarter of wells in Gaza meet World Health Organization safety levels. We're here today to offer advice to the British government on what it can do economically, socially and politically to help the Palestinians in their hour of need. Last week, to mark the UN's World Refugee Day, the leader of the Labour Party visited two of the biggest Palestinian refugee camps in Jordan. And this week, Prince William is visiting the occupied Palestinian territories, which is an important symbolic act aimed at showing that the people of Britain do care about the plight of the Palestinians. So can I ask the Minister, what is he doing to argue for better access to Gaza for the international community, for NGOs, charities and politicians here to visit, so that the crimes perpetrated on Gaza are not hidden behind blockade walls? We have to begin by acknowledging the humanitarian crisis is man-made. This is vital to resolve Gaza's catastrophic lack of clean water, electricity, a health system hanging by a thread, and other life-threatening problems that experts say will make the Strip uninhabitable in a matter of years. The utter desperation rife in the squalid, bombed-out settlements of Gaza has manifested itself in recent weeks with huge protests and an Israeli response to the shocked and appalled. And of course, as the members have said, we condemn any acts of terror by Hamas, just as we condemn the appalling actions of the Israeli government. Since the first protest on the 30th of March, the Israeli Defence Force has killed 135 Palestinians, including a young medic, 21-year-old Razan Najjar. Nearly 15,000 people have been injured, and with 4,000 of those injuries caused by live ammunition. 16 children have been killed. 5 Israelis have been injured. Further pressure on Gaza's health system, which was, anyway, according to the World Health Organization, already on the brink of collapse. I don't have time to go into the details of these outrageous and disproportionate and illegal acts, and they have been covered in previous debates and today many times. And so I will instead use my time to pinpoint down on some of the humanitarian situation and what DFID can do to improve the lives of these people in the most dire of situations. Protecting Palestinians is an international obligation. Let us be clear about that too. In fact, it is the international community's collective responsibility as states party to the 4th Geneva Convention to provide protection to Palestinians in the occupied territories. The British government should not be ordering its diplomats to vote against or to abstain on resolutions that uphold international law. And I will move on to some questions that I hope the Minister will be able to give answers to. Currently, the government does not disaggregate between its DFID spending between Gaza and the West Bank. Will the Minister consider reviewing this approach so that development work in Gaza, which is clearly a separate and defined area and under blockade, can more readily be reviewed by this House? At present, the movement and access restrictions imposed by Israel significantly constrain the health system in Gaza. Access to treatment is impeded by the inability to import medical equipment, and administrative constraints are placed on people seeking medical attention outside Gaza. What progress has the Minister made in talks with the Israeli government on expediting medical permits for those who require treatment outside of Gaza? The UK is supporting water and sanitation needs through £1.9 million support to UNICEF and £1.5 million support to ICRC, helping support Palestinians in 11 hospitals in Gaza. Can the Minister tell us more about these projects? And are these the only Gaza-specific aid contributions made by the UK government to Gaza, outside obviously of its contributions to UNRWA, which supports 1.3 million people in Gaza. As by my, and if you'll allow a crude calculation, if the population of Gaza is near enough 2 million, then this would work out at just £1.70 per person in Gaza over 1 year. And this funding finishes in September 2018. Will the Minister tell us when we will hear about future years' funding? And in a written answer in May, answer 144778, the Minister said he is reviewing how the UK can best support the health system in Gaza. Can he tell us what this review involves and when it will report to the House? If elected, Labour will recognise the state of Palestine immediately. The Minister has been asked before why his government does not recognise Palestine now, and if not now, when? The Minister often talks with great empathy about the polarisation and worsening of the situation between Israel and Palestine, and the reality of this government's actions is that it is providing very good critiques of the situation, but is failing to act robustly when it should be upholding international law and taking action, and not simply offering words. And on America, we hear the Minister often take a different line than that of the US counterparts. This is, of course, welcome, but this government must have the courage to tell President Trump that he is wrong, and what he is doing to work with other European and global partners so that, for the UK's part, all our eggs are not in the Trump basket, and we are not reliant on the peace plan of Jared Kushner. And finally, Mr Paisley, in response to the House of Commons on the 15th of May on violence on the Gaza border, the Minister said, "We are supportive of that independent, transparent investigation." Yet when the UN Human Rights Council resolved to set up a commission of inquiry to undertake precisely that, the UK failed to join with 29 partner countries and abstained in the vote. And we are still waiting for an explanation of that decision.